Okay, tonight I have with me a visitor from Oregon who is training to be a pastor in the teachings of Jesus Christ. And we're going to tax his brain and mind and see what he has in it and how far he has reached in the teaching. So I will turn you over to him, but what I really wanted to find out is how far you think you have gotten in the teachings of Jesus Christ.
Well, Jesus Christ is someone who, ever since I was a kid, was involved in my life in a form of Sunday school as a human being who walked the earth, who was a man who had many sayings, stories, and things that I enjoyed, because when you heard him talk about healing, when he talked about the Good Samaritan, when he talked about the woman at the well, I thought that was neat. It's only that I'm older now. As I have evolved in my belief, I understand more and more of who Jesus was, and that he was a messenger to speak the truth.
Uh-huh. Now, apart from that, you know, and I'm sure you recognize that Jesus spoke a lot in the 3.5 years when his gospel started and his mission started. So it would be nice if you were to highlight some of the things that Jesus said in his teaching, in the gospel, so to speak. Because if we don't know the gospel, we might be falling a little bit short of understanding and knowing Jesus. Don't you agree?
Yes. In fact, his teachings about loving your neighbor as yourself, of helping your fellow man, of using your mind to communicate with God, things that he has left with us. Not only with us, but he left with other people to teach us those things. But Jesus himself was one who said that he came here to give us instructions, and now it's up to us if we wanted to follow those instructions.
Well, you know, what I have noticed in the world today is that people love Jesus and they don't know his teaching. And they sing hymns and they pray and they go to church and they get involved in rituals, customs, habits, and ceremonies and even practices. But they still don't know the teachings of Jesus Christ. And he's about the teaching, and the teaching is him. He was the one that was made flesh and dwelt among us. So if we are to love Jesus, we have to know his teaching. And it is something that is sadly lacking in the world today. People love Jesus and don't know his teaching, and that is simply it. And this is why we're still in all these problems today. So what is it we really love? Now, this happens in Oregon, it happens in New York, it happens in Australia, indeed, all over the world. So it behoves every human being to learn the teaching, just like we did when we went to school. And I am sure that you would have started this journey and learning about his teaching about the gospel of the kingdom of heaven, because everything he spoke about was on the kingdom. And could you tell us how far you have reached in that journey?
Well, he did teach us about, as I said, the love before, and sure, there is love in the world, but people don't know how to express it. They don't know, they do not understand his teachings because they haven't applied themselves to it. As far as my journey is concerned, personally, in my evolvement of my belief, I think that he has guided me to a certain understanding. Now, there are others who understand Jesus a lot deeper than I do, but in my own way, I believe that my actions, it's not going to get me into heaven, but it's part of the overall picture, and that I have to be somebody who can understand what he's saying and then bring it into light and into being, but through my actions. And that would mean through the ones I love, the ones I don't love, the ones I know, and the ones I do not know. So I'm still at a growing stage, and Jesus for me is someone who continues to manifest himself in different ways and in different actions and through the actions of others. Now, to understand his teachings, I personally would admit that I have to study it deeper, and to me I think it's a commitment that's wholehearted, because you don't play around with Jesus if you're going to commit yourself to him.
Well, having been a teacher for so many years, and now that you are in retirement, when you look back, you could see that if a student in your class loved you and did not love what you did and what you taught, what then you think they would have acquired, what knowledge they would have acquired of you? Because the exam is on the teaching, not on the teacher. So they would have had to study the teaching that you had passed on to them every day that you went to school, and the advice that you gave them, and the books that you used. Now, we have a manual called the Bible and the New Testament, or the teachings of Jesus Christ. So that should tell us that we should go into the teaching in full detail, just like we did when we were in school. Because in school we got the teaching and we were given homework and we were made to answer questions, and we were asked questions by the teacher, and in the end we are not allowed to carry the book into the exam room, neither are we allowed to carry the Bible into heaven, the Bible which is written. That's physical. So I feel sure that you understand this part of the principles of not only reading the Bible, but studying the Bible and writing the Bible and answering questions about it and talking about it, and also observing how the teachings of Jesus Christ interacted in your life and manifested in physical situations and things in your life. So there is a similarity between you and your teaching in the physical school and Jesus about his teaching in the spiritual realm, and telling us about that subject called the kingdom of heaven. And I feel that you are beginning to grasp this concept, because if you look at religion today, they are more involved in rituals, customs, habits, and practices. And we are not going to get in the kingdom of heaven through that, because he said, I am the door, and we have to pass through the door if we are to get into the kingdom. Otherwise, we'll be going through some other door, and we would be like a bandit, a robber, and a thief. So, having said that, I feel this is the clue and the key to understanding his teaching and to really get into the kingdom of heaven with your mind, soul, and heart. And of course, remember, you have learned about the husbandman, who is also a watchman, and he is the one who is in charge of this unit that we call you. So you are a human machine. And you, the husbandman, is the one who have to make the decision to read the Bible, use your eyes to read the Bible, use your ears to hear and listen on the gospel of Jesus Christ concerning the kingdom of heaven. And you are the one, the husbandman, to choose to write and answer questions. And you are the husbandman who is to talk about the gospel, among other things that we do speak about. Don't you agree?
Yes, in fact, going back to me being a teacher and being a good guy to the kids, it's still up to them to discipline themselves to study for this stuff. And although I might be a good person to them, I still have to give them some direction. Now, jumping ahead to what you said about reading and studying, it's true. As I said earlier on, I still need to do a lot more of that and still need to study it, as you suggested, and I think that's the key, because we need to study His Word, but in studying it we also need to find somebody who could actually give us focus in what the truth is in understanding that Word, and understanding the premise of a watchman, husbandman, our mind, our soul, and how things are organized and directed only comes from in-depth study. And it's right that if we do not have someone to guide us, Jesus guided us, but we still need people here on earth to help us in that direction.
Well, we do have a guide, and we do have someone who can help us, and that is the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
So all we need to do is to show the Holy Spirit that we have some sort of interest in the gospel of the kingdom of heaven. And if I always advocate that people should read Matthew, I find Matthew more organized than Mark and Luke and John. But that doesn't mean that I don't read Mark, Luke and John. But if we could get this message across to the Holy Spirit, that we are interested and that we are really seeking the gospel of Jesus Christ, the gospel of the kingdom of heaven, we have no problems. He will come into our minds and reveal thoughts for us and interpret the gospel for us, and He will reveal it to us. So this aspect of the Holy Spirit is vitally important if we are to learn Jesus' teaching. And I'm sure you agree with that.
Yes.
And He's not a helper or a teacher or a comforter that you can see, and when He comes sometimes we are not aware that He is here helping us, because one, we cannot see Him, and two, we might be so focused on the Word that we are not recognizing that the revelations are coming through the input of the Holy Spirit, which is within each and every one of us. And that was His purpose, being the second comforter, as Jesus advocated. You see, I always look upon it as that God is back in heaven, Jesus is back sitting on the right hand of God in heaven. So the one we have on earth is the Holy Spirit. Now we ignore the one who is now on earth for our purpose, and we go to Jesus and we go to God. And we are ignoring the representative of God and Jesus, for they both are the ones who actually invited the second comforter to take over when Jesus leaves, because He said, I will not leave you comfortless. So the take-home message here is Matthew. We should indulge in all the teachings of Matthew and the words and try to understand it, and let the Holy Spirit remind you, and He will reveal the meanings to you. And you've got to become aware of when He's doing this in your life, in your studies. So we do have a teacher, and that to me is the gist of it all.